What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Grand Tournament review video. So today is going to be the last Grand Tournament review that I do. Apart from maybe a yes or no type of video where I just go yes or no as far as if I think it's going to see meta play and constructed. But we saw an awful lot of releases recently. You may or may not know, but there was a stream just yesterday. Actually, it's going to be 2 days ago when this video is posted, but just yesterday for me that released over 50 cards. So we have about 54 cards to go through right now. I think maybe 55 cards to go through. So we're going to do that as quickly as we can while somewhat covering if I think it's going to be useful or not. It's going to take a little bit longer than usual, so I apologize for that, but there's not really any way to get past it. So we're just going to start into it right now. First off, we have Ronin. So Ronin's Death Rattle is add 3 copies of Arcane Missiles to your hand. So it's an 8-drop 7/7, so it's alright. It gets a nice, powerful body on the field. The fact of the matter is you can drop an Antonidas the turn after this and then get 2 to 3 Fireballs, which is absolutely fantastic. You can play Control Mage much easier with this card, in my opinion, because they're going to have to deal with a threat, and once they deal with it, if it's not silenced, which it isn't too great of a value for silence unless you know Archmage Antonidas is going to get dropped right afterwards. So I think it's going to be a really powerful card, and by the time it's played, probably not going to be prone to much silence. So I'm pretty happy about it. Next we have Varian Rin. So Battle Cries, draw 3 cards, put any minions you drew directly into the battlefield. I don't think this needs much explanation. It's going to be fantastic. It's a 10-drop, so it is very late game most likely. But it's a 7/7, so you're already getting value out of it. And if you manage to draw 3 cards that are just drawing 3 cards, then you already have about, what, 3 to 4? It's between 3 and 5 mana worth of draw just right off of that, so you're already getting, it's like it's at worst total vanilla test pass, or at best crazy value on it. So at best I'd say it's like a 5-drop 7/7 with the possibility of playing some really powerful minions right off the bat. So I think that this is really a great way to end the game, and I think it's going to see a lot of play in Control Warrior. Moving on. Oh yeah, and then Control Warrior is also going to be more powerful because the fact of the matter is you have lots of endgame cards being a Control Warrior, and you have a pretty high chance of one of them at least being dropped right at that point. So I think it's going to be fantastic. I really do. Varian's going to see a lot of play, and I'm excited to see where he goes. Next we have Ram Wrangler. 5-drop Battle Cry. If you have a beast, summon a random beast. I mean, Control Hunter, that's all I gotta say. And after seeing some of the cards that you guys are gonna see in a minute, I more and more think that this could be a thing. The fact that it just gives you instant board control, you already have a beast out, and then you're gonna get a random beast played, that could be very powerful. It's a summon, so basically, if you get a 2-drop, actually if you get a 3-drop, a regular 3-drop beast, then you're going to have value on this. And that's a relatively decent shot. Not even including the possibilities that it has as far as summoning, you know, ridiculously powerful cards that have a high cost, like your high main, you know, for example, would be a fantastic card to get. So it has a lot of potential. Lights Champion, Battlecry, Silence a Demon. It's a 3-drop 4/3. Blah, blah, blah. Just bad. Just get it away. We don't want this. Okay, so now we start with the massive amount of cards we saw just yesterday. So first off, we have Ice Rager. Power Creep, that's all I gotta say. It's not gonna be very good. Not at all. Tournament Attendee? Nope. Not gonna see very much play. Not very good at all. Trades with 3-drop at best. Or 2-drop at low health 2-drop, or low health 3-drops and mediocre 2-drops. So I think that it might be okay, but not great. Not great for sure. Bone Guard just isn't fast enough, so you're going to play it as your 2-drop, and then you're going to see a Leper Gnome pick it off. That's basically the gist of it here. And if it doesn't get its Inspire, then it's definitely not value. Dragonhawk. Inspire gained Wind Fury this turn. I think that that has potential as a Face Hunter card, and that's pretty much it, to be completely honest. Maybe Zulok. That's the only thing I can think of that might want this, because you draw another card, maintain control, do 6 damage, for example, for Warlock with Zulok. You play it in Face Hunter one turn, the next turn you play a 2-drop, like you play your Creeper, for example, or something like that, and then you hero power, and then you win Fury, do 6 damage, so that's an 8 damage turn. So it's pretty good in that sense, but I don't know if it's going to see much play. Evil Heckler, rest in peace, Booty Bay body card, but, you know, it's just adding taunt to it. I mean, that's really it, and I don't see much use coming out of it, even after that buff. Refreshment Vendor, so Battlecry restore 4 health to each hero. I think it has potential. Being a 3/5, it's a decent stats for, or decent distribution of stats for a 4-drop, and I think that's just okay. I think it's just okay. I don't think it's gonna see too much play, but it might. I might be wrong. We'll see. I don't really necessarily see where it's going to fit in, I guess. Maybe in Freeze Priest, and we've seen a little bit of discussion on that, and I think that has potential, but we'll see. Moving on, we have Frigid Snowbold. So it's just a straight, like, big brother to the Kobold Geomancer, right? So I think that has potential, again, if spell damage decks become a thing. I'm not sure they will, but they might. So in the case that becomes a thing, I definitely would say that it ends up having a place in that deck. Moving on, we have Pit Fighter, 5-drop, 5/6. Good in Arena. That's all I got to say about that. Moving on, we have Cavalder Rider. So, Inspire game +2/+2. Honestly, I think that it's less powerful, less exciting Floating Watcher, really, because Floating Watcher has a heavy potential to be able to combo or even get buffed twice in one turn, and Cavalder Raider does not really have that potential, so I don't see it being played. Captured Jormungar. I had to read that twice. Okay, it's gonna be fantastic in Arena, but I don't think, being that the way it is, being a vanilla card like that, I don't think it's gonna see much play as far as the whole constructed goes, but it might see a lot of play in Arena. I think it's going to be a really solid pick in Arena, just because it has 9 health, and that's a lot. Moving on, we have Fencing Coach, 3-drop, Battle Cry, and the next time you use your hero power, it costs 2 less. Just for the sheer combo potential it has, I'm not going to write this one off just yet, but I don't know where it's going to fit in. Its stat distribution is mediocre at best, but you're basically getting, it's basically a 1-drop 2/2, because you're getting a free hero power out of it, so I think that it's okay. I think it might fit in to some decks that go for the combo potential with hero powers, but I'm not sure yet, so I'm not going to say much about it. Saboteurs. So, Battlecry, your opponent's hero power costs 5 more next turn. It's a 3-drop 4/3. They're printing Hatred already for Battlecry decks, hero power decks rather, and I think that that's a good thing to have, honestly. I think that in the case that... Whoa, what happened here? I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. In the case that hero power decks become a thing, Saboteur is a very nice card to have, so we don't have to make a... we don't have to wait a whole expansion or a whole adventure for more hate cards for hero power decks if they become something big. Moving on, we have Mogre's Champion. Disgustingly bad, terrible, just downright awful. Hate the card. I don't even think it's going to be good in Arena. I think it's honestly one of the worst cards ever created as far as its stat distribution goes. You can knock it off with 5-drops. It doesn't even have a guarantee to be able to hit the enemy that you want it to, and it wouldn't even be good if it didn't have that effect. It would not be good as an 8/5 vanilla character with no archetype under it. So I think that that's definitely something that will not have a place and will be picked as a last-second, last-ditch effort in Arena for some sort of endgame, because that's the only thing I see it fitting into, is if you have 2 significantly worse cards because they're bad and they're low cost. That's the only way I see it happening. Twilight Guardian is fantastic. If you're holding a dragon, gain +1 attack and taunt, so it becomes a 3/6 4-drop with taunt. Has a lot of potential. That's all. That's all there is to say. It has a lot of potential. I am very excited for this card. I think that this and Chilmaw, as you can see over there, breeds a lot of potential for Dragon Priest, Dragon Paladin, and Dragon Warrior. And I have reasons for thinking that, and they've been kind of widely discussed already. So if you haven't heard about it, I'll probably make another video on it in the future to discuss that archetype a little more. But it has a lot of possible use, and I'm very excited to say that it's a 4-drop, so no one has to run Senjin by default just because there are so many good 5-drop dragons at this point. I think that this has a lot of potential to be played. I think being a 4-drop, it is perfect. 4-drop with a dragon archetype makes it even better. I love this card, and I think that it's going to see a lot of play. Moving on, we have 5-drop 5/4 Recruiter. Inspire, add a +2/+2 Squire to your hand. The Squire cost 1 to drop, so this is trash, and it's never going to be played. That's all I have to say about that. It's just not going to be played. So moving on, we have a 6-drop 6/5 called Slideshow Spell Eater, or Sideshow Spell Eater, rather. Battle Cry, copy your opponent's hero power. And as confirmed by one of the developers at Blizzard, this doesn't mean copy it for 1 turn, use it 1 turn, use it on Battle Cry. It means that it's going to replace your hero power with their hero power. So if you're playing something like Warrior, for example, in Arena, this might be okay because you're going to be copying a more useful hero power, which, you know, is always good. But the thing is that you're not going to see this in Constructed. Normally, you're building a deck around consistency. Okay, and having this card in your deck means that it's not ever going to be consistent. There's always going to be the possibility that you draw into it and play it on curve and lose your hero power and have to deal with whatever other hero power your opponent has. Now, in the case, now let's take this stance for a second. In the case that Justicar becomes a fantastic card, that hero power mage becomes a thing, and that or any other Justicar use really becomes a thing, this might be okay. This might see some use, but otherwise I don't think it's gonna happen. Because the buffed hero powers naturally would probably be better than whatever hero power you have, unless you have a specific aggro archetype, which means that you're going to need card draw from Warlock, or just damage consistently in general. I guess it kind of depends on what you're going to be playing. Bullfram Shield. So, whenever your hero takes damage, this minion takes it instead. I hate this card. Being a 6-drop 3/9, it's basically just a meat shield. It's a heal 9, essentially a heal 9 for 6, but even if that happens, then it's still possible that it can get silenced, and at that point it's just a 3/9 for 6, which I guess is okay in the grand scheme of things. It is a nice body to have out on the field, but it doesn't counter enough and deal out enough damage for it to warrant being, just existing. So I think that it's probably pretty bad. It also means that your opponent's going to be able to directly answer to it by attacking you face and not losing their actual minion to it. So I don't really like this card very much. It might have some use, but I don't see it yet. Okay, Chilmaw, 7-drop 6/6, so doesn't quite pass vanilla test, but it does have taunt, so that's really nice. And the death rattle is if you're holding a dragon, deal 3 damage to all minions. So it's basically like, it comes out, it's a decent body to put on the field, and then once it drops, it's going to board wipe mid-game for you. Late game, being late game with it, I don't think that it's really going to have the potential to board wipe necessarily as well. But if you're playing against, for example, Zulok, for just an example, or any other zoo-based deck, then it's really nice to have, I think, because you're going to be able to have a dragon deck that relies solely on board control, and then play this, and then just sit and, you know, maintain your card advantage with your hand while they try to get rid of it without losing too much of their field. And since it's only against all minions, you don't really have to count on it. Doing or not doing damage against you personally as your character or as your hero. which is really nice to see. It's all just a minion board wipe, and I really like that. Moving on, we have warrior class. Oh, we have all our class cards. So we have Agrimar Aspirant, Inspire, give your weapon +1 attack. I don't see it. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. It has potential, but I'm still not sure. Now, I think that it might go in this whole taunt deck archetype that we kind of have been starting to see things with, like this really, really tanky warrior archetype of a deck, and I think that the next card over, Sparring Partner, actually lends itself more to that strategy. So it's a taunt with a battle cry, give a minion taunt. So I love this card. I absolutely love this card. I think that it's absolute, like, gold, because this is a low cost card that's going to be able to give taunt to anything you want it to. So all of these cards that are going to all these cards that are going to be giving taunt are just going to have one more card that you can use to give taunt to something else. So at this point we have 6 cards possible in a taunt warrior deck that can give something else taunt. So you can run really, really tanky vanilla cards and then give them taunt. And being a 2-drop means that you can play something that's really tanky that's going to eat up a lot of damage and then give it taunt on the same turn, which is really, really fantastic. I really do like this card. Sparring Partner has a lot of potential. Also, being a taunt card itself means that the taunt synergy just works even more. So I really like this card. It has a lot of potential. Taunt Warrior is going to be a thing, I promise. Moving on, Magnetor Alpha. Also damages the minions next to whomever he attacks. So it's kind of interesting card. I don't know. I don't think that it's going to be used too much because it only has 3 health and it's so susceptible to being just bolted off or whatever. Anything else. 3 drops. I mean, you can have 2 drops. That'll take it out, being 3 2s that'll take out a 4-drop. I mean, that's just not okay. You can't have that happening, especially in Constructed. Now, I think it has potential in the Taunt Warrior deck, again, because it's just going to be able to hit straight in and go for a lot of damage, and it's going to make minion placement actually matter a lot more, because in this case that this becomes used whatsoever, it's going to be used as essentially a one-sided board wipe because it's doing 5 damage and it's early to mid-game. So I think that it has a lot of potential to totally wipe your opponent's board if they only have 3 minions. So potentially a lot more strategy goes into minion placement, which is really nice to see. Moving on, we have the Warlock cards. Dark Bargain. Destroy 2 random enemy minions. Discard 2 random cards. I think we're going to see a archetype of Warlock that's going to really strongly rely on getting discard damage and comboing with Malygos. And I think I'll go into that in another video because it has a lot of potential. I'm going to outline a couple of the cards that I think are going to really strongly synergize with it and maybe make some mock decks I might try out when the new expansion drops. But I think this has a lot of potential for being a Malygos discard lock. And I'll explain that more in another video, but I really, really like the idea. And I'm really excited to see how this works. Dark Bargain just makes it that much more possible because it has another discard effect, and it's destroyed 2 random enemy minions. So you can trim down your opponent's side with whatever you want to be destroyed, whatever would give the most value, and then destroy them. We have Void Crusher, Inspire, destroy a random minion for each player. Honestly, with this kind of effect, I'd say it needs to be a 4-5 or even a 4-6 for 6, because at this point, I don't think that it's possible you can get value out of it by the time it dies. Being a 6-drop, you're just going to forfeit all your tempo, and I really don't like that. Tiny Knight of Evil has potential, again, as a discard lock, and Malygos discard lock might be a thing. I think that also it has potential to see play is just being a 2-drop 3/2 that's possible to buff. I think it has play as a Demon Zoo lock, because you're going to be able to discard cards on a regular basis with it anyways. So Tiny Knight of Evil has a lot of potential to be able to grow very shortly after it's being played. Being a 2-drop means that it just has that much more potential to be buffed significantly before it dies. So I'm really happy with it. I think it has a lot of potential for value, really. Fearsome Doomguard, I don't like it. It's literally the only class-specific card in the game that doesn't have any text on it. It's boring. It's a 7-drop 6/8, so it's just mediocre at best. It dodges BGH, which is the only thing I think is relatively useful about it. It might have a place in some sort of demon lock, but I can't even think of a specific advantage it would have over the actual traditional Doomguard. So I guess we'll see, but I'm not really seeing it being used much at all, if at all whatsoever. Next up, we have the Mist Caller. Moving on to Shaman cards, of course. Moving on to the Mist Caller. So, Battle Cry, give all minions in your hand and deck +1/+1. Wow. Just wow. Like, blow your mind, wow. I have no idea how this even happened. This is fantastic. It's a 4/4, so you're forfeiting a little bit of tempo being a 6-drop, but the Battle Cry is so powerful that I don't even think it matters necessarily that you're forfeiting some of your tempo, because any forfeited tempo is going to be gained that quickly when you start playing cards that are, for example, you're getting a 1-drop 2/2 or a 1-drop 2/3 or a 1-drop 3/2. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's so good. And I think Mist Caller has a lot of potential to be one of the best cards that comes out of the Grand Tournament. I'm very excited to see where it goes. We have 3-drop Elemental Destruction. Deal 4 to 5 damage to all minions, overload 5. So it totally gimps your next turn, but it does give you a board clear. And I really do think that's important to have for Shaman, because it almost redefines the way that you play with Shaman. You can let things happen. You can get your early game going, and in that sense, I don't even mean necessarily getting things out on the board. I mean making sure that you have card advantage just from your hand with nothing else. And then you just drop your Elemental Destruction, destroy everything on the field because it's 4 to 5 damage, and by turn 3 there's nothing that's going to be over 5 HP on the board other than possibly something that you're going to be able to smash yourself into anyways. And later on in the game, it works just as well. So I really like this card. I think it's going to be a staple. I think Shaman is looking really good for this expansion, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. Moving on, we have the Rogue cards. So first we have Beneath the Grounds. So shuffle 3 ambushes into your opponent's deck. When drawn, summon a 4/4 Nerubian. So it's a 3-drop for 12 total stats in each side, distributed equally. So I like it a lot. I think it has a lot of potential. If it takes the draw. Now, if you draw an extra card, that it's still going to be crazy value, but if it takes the draw, it would be insane value. If it shuffles in and, like, you draw the ambush, and then that's the only draw they get for the turn, this will be one of the best cards in the game. And I guarantee you that it's going to give value almost every single time. Being a 3-drop 4/4 would be great alone. That alone is fine, okay? Being the possibility of getting an 8/8 or a 12/12 worth of Nerubians is amazing, and that has a lot of potential to bring back in control-type rogues, and I really am excited to see where that goes. It's just, you can't even answer to it. You don't have any possible way to have a consistent output from it, so that can benefit the player that's playing it, or it can totally hurt the player that's playing it, and it has a lot of potential. I'm very excited to see where it goes. Moving on, we have a 3-drop 4/3 Shady Dealer Battle Cry. If you have a pirate, gain +1/+1. I guess it's okay. Being a 3-drop 5/4, I mean, that's pretty darn good. And honestly, pirate decks could see some sort of rogue play, like a pirate rogue archetype of some sort. I think it's already been done, so this just kind of buffs it. I don't really know how the pirate archetype decks really work because I haven't looked into them too much, but I know that some of them buff weapons, some of them rely on getting buffed by power that weapons have, so I think that rogue could definitely benefit from having more pirates, so I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. Undercity Valiant is a 2-drop 3/2 combo, deal 1 damage. Basically, SI7 agent mini, honestly, is what this is. And I think that that's really good. I think it has potential to get lots of value, especially the ideal scenario is you drop Undercity Valiant with coin, so it gets combo, and then take out either a Divine Shield on a 1-drop with a 1/1, so you're going to have the Argent, for example. You take out the Divine Shield, well, no, never mind. That wouldn't even be an issue because you have coin. Assuming you have coin, you could take out a Leper Gnome or the Argent Squire's Divine Shield, which would be fantastic either way, and honestly makes it good. Is a 2-drop for sure. Getting that board control is just great early on. Buccaneer is a 1-drop pirate. Whenever you equip a weapon, give it +1 attack. I like this card, I have to say. I like the card. You can play it turn 1, and then turn 2 you have a 2/2 weapon for 2. That's not bad. It just isn't. Also, I'm sure there's going to be other types of synergies with it, but I like it. Buccaneer's just an okay card, and it might synergize with more pirate cards, really, because I don't know the whole pirate synergies. I don't have them down yet. I've never really had to have them down, so... Anyways, that's about it for Rogue. Now, Priest has quite a few cards, and they're kind of interesting, and more so breed new strategy than fit into old archetypes. So we start out with Wormrest Agent, 2-drop 1/4 Battle Cry if you're holding a Dragon game +1 attack and taunt. So it becomes a 2-drop 2/4 with taunt, which is absolute insanity. I can't even fathom what they were thinking when they made this card, because this almost just lends itself with the other taunt cards that we got, the other Twilight that we got, the Twilight Dragon, whatever it's called, 3/6 taunt, and this almost lends itself to be just kind of freezing the game until you can get your later dragons out, like Ysera, for example, which just totally give you your snowball to end the game with. So I really do like this. It has a lot of potential, and Dragon archetype will definitely become a very played class. I very much guarantee that, or archetype rather, not class. It's going to be a crazy played archetype, and it will, with how powerful it is right now, people are able to get legend with it as it is. The buffs that it's getting are really powerful buffs that really boost its early game, because that's what it was lacking in, was your turn 1, turn 2, and turn 4 were really where the Dragon archetype decks were lacking, and this just buffs it. It's fantastic. I really like it. Next we have Convert, 2-drop, put a copy of an enemy minion into your hand. It's okay. It's okay. I can see it being a direct nerf to Deathwing, because, you get a free Deathwing and then you just drop it and kill the other Deathwing. I think that'd be kind of funny, but, it's kind of situational and won't always yield value, so... Oh, I have the hiccups. I'm sorry, guys. Won't always necessarily yield value, so that's not too good. Power Word Glory, choose a minion whenever it attacks, restore 4 health to your hero. So this kind of almost gives it more power, gives the deck more power, it gives any deck it's in really more power, because you can use it on an opponent's minion. So if it's a powerful minion, for example, you're just gimping the damage output that it has. If it's going to clear stuff, then you're going to get healed for free. If it's going to attack you, you're going to take the damage it has down by 4, which is really cool. I really like this card. Confessor Paletress, so inspire, summon a random legendary minion. It has a lot of potential. It really does. It's really one of the craziest cards in the game, honestly, is what it's going to come down to, is some really disgusting combos that come out, and... in both directions, really. It's going to have disgusting combos that gimp the person. I'm sure within a week of this coming out that we're going to see a Trollden video that includes this dropping a Major Domo Executus and then getting chunked right off the bat. But I don't know. I like it, but it has a lot of potential to go wrong as well. Shadow Fiend's a 3-drop 3/3. Whenever you draw a card, reduces cost by 1. It's not going to stick around long enough to get much value, so... I think it's okay, but I don't think it's going to see... Well, it might see a lot of play, actually. Being a 3-drop 3/3 means it's really vulnerable to early removal, That being the Shadow Words and also being Frostbolt. So I think we have a lot of potential to see it, but also a lot of potential that it's going to be removed early and result in a net loss in tempo. Spawn of the Shadows has an Inspire, deal 4 damage to each hero. It might see play in freeze. I mean, that's all I see it in. Honestly, that's it. Moving on, we have the Paladin cards, and then Mage and Hunter and Druid, and then that's gonna be it. So not too much left, guys. Just stick around for a little bit longer. Sorry, it's been what 40 minutes, 30 minutes? Yeah, 30 minutes. All right, so I'll get it done as soon as I can. Anyways, enter the Colosseum. Destroy all minions except each player's highest attack minion. You can actually gimp some really good minions by reducing their attack to 0. Or, I don't know how this is going to go, because if you have, like, Edric, for example, you play Edric and there's an opponent's board is full of 1 attack minions, I don't know how Enter the Colosseum will work, and that's going to be something I look into right off the bat. Mysterious Challenger 666, so, you know. Battlecry, put 1 of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. Has a lot of potential. Secret Paladin might be a thing now, and I'm very excited to see how it goes, really. Playing this later on with, like, Control Paladin, for example, if you're playing Control Paladin and giving a bunch of secrets, like, honestly, that Battlecry could really buff the control, because you have this card right here, Competitive Spirit, so when you start your next turn, you're going to give all your minions +1/+1. And if you're playing Control, then that's a very powerful buff. So I really like this card. I think it has potential to be played in a new archetype of Control Paladin. Okay, so we have the new Murloc card for the set. We have a 4-drop 3/4 with Inspire, summon a random Murloc. So I like this card because, 1, it's another Murloc card. 2, it breeds some new uses for Murlocs in general as a Paladin. You don't really see Murloc Paladin very often. I know that it's something that's seen a little bit of play before, but this might kind of do a little bit more anyways. And honestly, seeing an Inspire like this, you're getting a 4-drop for 4, so it's like it's more of a endgame thing with Murloc, honestly, is what it turns out to be. But you'd be getting a 1-drop, a random Murloc, you know, for 2. I mean, that's not bad. If it survives more than 2 turns, then you're basically going to get a very hefty value in your favor out of it. So I like it a lot, really. Seal of the Champions is a 3-drop spell. Give a minion +3 attack and Divine Shield. More aggro cards. Yay. Arcane Blast. Okay, so moving on to the 3 mage cards we got. 1-drop Arcane Blast. Deal 2 damage to a minion. This spell gets double bonus damage from spell damage. Interesting that it's a new mechanic almost right there in itself, because it's doubling damage off of spell damage. So there are only a few cards that do that. Velen's comes to mind. Works in a similar way, not quite the same way. But I really am kind of excited to see if this actually becomes used. It's a nice removal for 1, honestly. It's a really early removal. It's consistent. So, you know, it's got potential. It's got potential. Polymorph Boar synergizes very well with Mirror Entity. Or like Mirror Entity, it works, but it also works for the 1-drop Summon 2/02 taunts. I forget what the name of it is. But anyways, it works well with that. And you change it into a 4/2 Boar with Charge. I mean, that's pretty darn good. I like it a lot. I think that it has a lot of potential to be played like a turn 1 Worm, or turn 1 Worm coin into that card I just mentioned, and then play Polymorph Boar on turn 3 after turn 2, some other spell, Frostbolt early removal, something like that. You could even Arcane Blast or Hero Power, something like that. Polymorph Boar, and then you have a 4/2 for 3 with Charge. It's more consistent than any other transform spell, really, and it's a 3-drop, so you can even use it offensively as much as you can use it defensively. Dalaran Aspirant Inspire is gain spell damage +1. I think that this could almost single-handedly join the spell damage +1 deck that may or may not become an actual archetype with Mage this coming expansion. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see. Gotta get a drink real quick. I'm sorry about that. It's just my throat starts to get a little sore after talking like straight like this for so long. Alright, so Hunter's got some interesting cards. We got Acid Maw. Whenever another minion takes damage, destroy it. Interesting card. Honestly, for it to gain any value, you're going to have to play it and then already have a predetermined board. So, Control Hunter, right? You know, that's going to work. It's going to work. I guarantee it. Control Hunter is going to be a thing. Going back to that, right? Dread Scale. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all other minions. Keyword being other. Again, more control. It's a 3-drop 4/2 instead of being a 7-drop 4/2. So that's nice, first of all. It's not terrible being 4/2, but it has a lot of possible removals that can hurt it pretty bad. But I like it. I like it. It has potential. And it kind of can dominate early game as far as going against like Control Paladin, for example. Or even would go so far as to say it would go well against a Zoolock of sorts. So I like it. Stable Master is a 3-drop 4/2. Again, Battle Cry, give a friendly beast minion immune this turn. So, I think that's quite alright. I think that is quite alright. Gives you a lot of possibilities as far as Control Hunter goes again. Because you're giving your friendly beast immune. So, you're basically giving it free reign to attack whatever it wants without dying, without losing board control. So, again, lending itself to the control archetype. Hunter with control, so like a control hunter type of deck would just be fantastic with this. Moving on, we have Power Shot, which is another control hunter card. Deal 2 damage to a minion and to the minions next to it. So you're just doing damage to what could possibly be frail, high value targets. Control Hunter. 2-drop 3/2, King's Elic. Battlecry, reveal a minion in each deck. If yours costs more, draw it. Control. Control, control, control. You know, total control. The possibility of drawing your card that you get from this joust in particular is much, much, much more likely if you have higher cost cards. So on average, you'd win more matchups of jousts. So this by default falls into a control warrior type of deck, which is really cool. Again, all of these cards so far really lend themselves to the control hunter. I keep saying warrior, I think. Wow, sorry about that. Control hunter archetype. So 2-drop bear trap secret. After your hero is attacked, summon a 3/3 bear with taunt. Not too bad. Not too bad. 2-drop 3/3 with taunt. I mean, I'd say that's pretty good. I'd say it is pretty darn good. And I think that it's probably going to be played again in the control deck because it's a free for some damage taken early game. You're going to get a free 3/3 with taunt, which lets you build up your field a little bit more, build up your side a little bit more to get to the end game stuff like Acid Maw, okay? Like, for example, just your high main, you want to be able to be untouchable for damage output or for just board control in general. It has a lot of potential, and Control Hunter will definitely be a new type of deck that's played. I definitely see it being more powerful than the current Hybrid Hunter and more powerful than the current mid-range Hunter by far. Face Hunter remains to be seen, but I guess we'll see after that starts out, or after the expansion starts out. And finally, we have Druid. So, we have Mulch, destroy a minion, add a random minion to your opponent's hand. Has a lot of potential to screw you over, but being a 3-drop, just assassinate it really with a small, possibly big drawback, but most likely small. I like it. I like it a lot. It can give you really, really bad things that you have to deal with, and that would make it not valuable, but it does have potential to be very valuable, and I'm excited to see if it's used or not. Or it might not just be consistent enough to be played and constructed, but I guess we'll see. So Knight of the Wild is a 7-drop. Whenever you summon a beast, reduce the cost of this card by 1. So it's more of an interesting card because I don't really think of Druid as the hunter like is the hunter class. You know, I don't think of it as a class that has all the beast cards that it needs in it. So I don't think this is going to be really played. Then again, I don't really look at Beast Druid ever because I didn't even think of the possibility of it being a thing. So I guess we'll see, but I don't see it being used. Wild Walker rather, Battle Cry, give a friendly beast +3 health. Another beast card that just would find a nice way into Control Hunter. I don't understand why that came out for Druid, to be honest. I really don't. And that about wraps it up. That is every single the Grand Tournament card. So I will be going over them a little bit more in detail for a few of them, and then maybe making a video where it rounds up everything and all of the cards. And just quickly saying like yes or no if I think that it's going to be in the constructed meta or in the arena meta. I might make different videos for both of those actually, so we'll see. But I'm going to make a predictions video. It might be one, it might be two, based on arena, based on constructed. But like I said, we will see. Until next time, guys, I'm going to go rest my voice for a little bit because I am totally losing it right now. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Please don't forget to comment, you know, if you have any questions, concerns, anything to say at all, really. I really like talking to you guys about Hearthstone in general, so if you stuck around for almost 42 minutes to watch the end of this video, then I think, you know, you deserve some answers if you want any. And, yeah, that about wraps it up. So, until next time, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.